Okay, here we are. And we are live. Okay, so hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Gentlemen's Club book series intro call, I guess.
Yay.
How's everybody doing? All right, so
Good.
So this call, yeah, me too. So, feel free to chime in. This is, I know, Dr. Sanjeev, this was something that you really wanted to do and get going and be able to provide for India. You've read the Gentlemen's Club book several times. A book that was actually a telecall series that was actually just made for men that Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here created. But the book is just as much for women as it is for men, because it's really just about not giving yourself up to this like utopian ideal of relationships, and really being a huge contribution in terms of looking at where we've been functioning from unconsciousness and anti-consciousness in the area of relationships. And I know that has personally been sort of an Achilles heel for me most of my life. I mean, as soon as I found a pretty girl that I liked, I was done. That was it. I stopped creating my life. My whole life became about that one person. And it was like, and after a while, it was like, get away from me. You've made me the source of everything, and so the book has transformed my life, literally. And when I was done reading it, not only did it change, like remove sort of that veil of unconsciousness, but it even changed things in my body. Being, over 45 years old, it was like, and experiencing a tragedy where I felt like I was like not in my body. Like, even my sex life got better. So how does it get better than that? So this is a conversation that comes up a lot in body classes about, finding caring partners maybe, and also, or maybe just making your present relationship greater. And so, we kept bringing up the Gentlemen's Club. You're like, hey, let's do a book club. And so here we are.
So oftentimes it does happen that when a man is creating his life, he's wild and he's always being like the king of possibilities. But then oftentimes it happens that when he meets the woman, as you said, he falls in love, and the man that the woman fell in love with is changed after the relationship, and he's no more probably the man that she once fell in love with. Does that affect the relationship? Is that
Yeah.
like the break point?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that happens. Exactly. It's just like his whole life stands still, and everything revolves around, again, the idea of this relationship, which actually puts him in a constant state of judgment of himself and his partner, which is no fun for the partner, because he's trying to get them to fit into this sort of this box that he's already concluded would be the ideal relationship. So he starts giving up bits and pieces, but I know women don't do that for men either.
I think women end up doing that way more than men. Yeah.
Well,
And
way more.
I agree with Dr.
do it.
Sanjeev. Like, I think men and women both give themselves up as soon as they get into a relationship, or even at the promise of a relationship. You start cutting parts and pieces of yourself, trying to fit into what you've assumed would work for the other person. And you stop and you're right, you just stop creating your life, because then it's like almost like this obsessive need to only focus on that emotion, right? Or like being validated by that person, or meeting that person, and you're like on tenterhooks all the time. Yeah,
it almost becomes like our drug of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so perfect. Yeah, it is like an addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, I remember Gary Douglas asked me, he's like, women are your drug of choice. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, that's so true, because it was like everything would revolve around the obsession. And the obsession was romance, right? It's like once the penis went into the vagina, for me, it was like, and you see fireworks, it was like I was gone. I was done. Done deal. You can't find Anthony anymore. You know? And then like Sanjeev was saying, it's like that guy that girl was initially attracted to totally disappears. She's like, what happened to the guy that I met that was like creating his life and so sexy and, you know, was his own man, you know, and that's what's attractive to women, or if you're a gay man, to your gay man's partner. I mean, whether you're in a straight relationship or a gay, you know, gay relationship, it doesn't matter. Relationship's relationship. And that's really what this call is about, is not giving yourself up for this relationship. And yeah, so it is a book club. We'll be reading the book, but there's something magical about reading it out loud to other people and having this like question and answering thing. I'm going to fit sort of the insanities of my life and where it sort of started to kind of help me to be more conscious and more aware of how crazy I was. And I'm hoping that you guys do the same, but it is going to be interactive. I mean, yes, we will read the chapters, but you know, at the end, there'll be like an interactive, like sort of like question and providing tools for people to be able to use so they can start just really not being the prince of possibilities or the princess of possibilities, but the king of possibilities. You know,
that is so wonderful what you just said. Sorry, can I come in?
Yeah.
That's so wonderful what you just said, Anthony, because most of us who've read the book Gentleman's Club, and even if we haven't read the book Gentleman's Club, it comes with a notion, with a very silent decision from our side that, oh, that's just for men. It's not for us women.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak a little bit more about that? Because most of us just reach out to Salon de Femme. Oh, that's for us ladies, you know. That's a book that's been written and accessed for us. So I know that this book club is open both to ladies and men. So can we speak more about that, please?
Yeah, I think number one, it's just important for both sides to see where we've been functioning from unconsciousness and anti-consciousness, period. And to me, it's like there's plenty of relationships, or you know, heterosexual relationships where the man functions as a woman and the woman functions as a man. So it's like the information in that book is valuable. And the same thing with Salon de Femme, you know, a lot of men function like women, you know what I mean? So Gary's recommended that I read both the books, which I did. But the Gentleman's Club, not because it was a man call, but there was just something about the clearings in that call that really was like, whoa, because it got to, for me personally, it got to like those places where I couldn't cognitively figure out why I was being such an idiot in this area. You know, and even though I would get in a different relationship and the person seemed different, the end result was always the same. It was always me giving myself up for someone. And men and women do that. And in gay relationships, they do that too. You know what I mean? So whether it's woman and woman, man and man, man and woman, it doesn't matter. The call applies to all of us. And I don't know. I just think that's like, powerful.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's a space where we give ourselves up totally, and then there's a space where we go into resistance of giving ourselves up, but then that doesn't help either.
Yes.
And and we're like, no, I'm not giving myself up. I'm not giving myself up. And then that's again a no choice zone, right?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's a great point. Because what happens, you're like, okay, I'm finally going to lower my barriers so I can receive this amazing person. But if I do, and it's magical, and they decide to leave me, I don't know if I can recover. You know, and then you stop creating your life for the next 6 months, and you're not even in the relationship anymore because you're still picking up the pieces from when they left you after you finally decided to be vulnerable and lower your barriers. You know, and so what if that was just an interesting point of view? It's like, you know, if we choose to have somebody in our life, what if it's just a contribution and an addition, and it makes your life 10 times greater, and it makes their life 10 times greater? And if you both decide not to be in each other's lives anymore, guess what? You still have you. You still have you, and you can thank them for the magic you created for the time being.
That
You
is
know?
Brilliant. That's brilliant what
That
you
is
just said.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And also, a couple of questions I have for you, Doc. What does it mean to be a man in this reality? And how does, see, there's a lot spoken about feminism. There's a lot spoken about what it's like to be a lady. But there's not much information in this reality about what it means to be a man and what are like the challenges that a man goes through. Uh, would the Gentleman's Club address this?
Yeah, absolutely. From my point of view, but it's like I grew up in a time where I think time like things are a little bit different today than like how I grew up. So like if you're a little like if you're it depends on where you live too in the world as well, right? So we have different cultures that impact different ways of being, but at least like in the United States is like the way that I functioned as a boy and a man would have have been very feminine, right? A lot of times, it's like, oh, I would hear from like older guys or even my peers like, oh, you're such a sissy, you're such a fag, because I was a romantic. I talked about love. I talked about the difference between, shagging someone versus making love, right? And that was something that my friends would look at me and be like, oh, you're so gay when you talk like that and stuff like that. And then you'd see these pictures like on the highway of the Marlboro Man, the cigarette guy, the cowboy with the 5 o'clock shadow and the big body, and all that. And that's what it meant to be a man, So I think times have changed, at least in the United States, because now there's these terms called metrosexual. So it's where like it's a straight man, but he has all the wonderful attributes as a gay man. You know what I mean? It's like he knows how to dress well, he's kind, he's sensitive, he loves fashion, he wants to go to pick out the curtains in his house with his girlfriend or wife. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, men didn't do that. You know what I mean? That was something that the woman goes and does, right? So, but things have changed so much culturally, even now, at least in the United States. I mean, it's been such a huge movement of allowing gay marriage to happen now, right? And that being legal. I mean, these are like recent laws that have been passed. So there's been a lot of progression in this area. So it just a lot of it depends upon when we were brought up. But I know that when I was brought up, I was called a sissy a lot. I was called a
Me
fag.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. Story of my life. So as a humanoid man, we really care. Humanoid men, we operate from a lot of space of care and kindness and sensitivity,
Yeah.
which is made a big wrongness in this reality because this reality kind of tells us that you got to be macho, you got to be, withdrawn.
Got to be
You're
the
not
bad
showing
boy. That's what's sexy.
emotion. And having the space of other men with the energy of I've got your back rather than doing competition is something that
Yeah.
is so enriching for a humanoid male. Like when I met you, doctor, at the 3-day body class, you were being the energy of Sanjeev, I have your back. Okay. And I see you. You saw something in me, and that gave me the strength. Like there's another man over here who's got my back, who's not doing competition with me. Because when two men come together, there's a lot of potency that they're aware of. So they would rather get into fight mode rather than have each other's back. So can this gentleman's club contribute to us men feeling like we have each other's back, men and women, without separation, having each other's back? Can we create that?
Yeah.
That's what the club is all about.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's one of the other amazing attributes that the class is about, is just not separating, like men not separating from men, men not separating from women, women not separating from women, men not separating from kids, kids not, it's everything. It's just really about having communion. And, that is a wonderful point, because it's like we should all have each other's backs. Could you imagine if we were functioning that way globally? I mean, what would our earth look like? What would our earth be like if we all had each other's backs? Right? If we all work together to contribute to each other actually thriving, not just in relationship, but in all the relationships that we have in any area of our life, business, socially, romantically, wherever, in the school systems. So there's so much that book to me, it's one of my favorite books. I mean, and like, gosh, I read it like 5-6 years ago, and I've read it like 10 times already. So I've done this call over and over again, and there's always something new that I learn, always. And I get more
That's
out
so
of
wonderful.
it in this setting. Sorry, Sangeeta, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that's so wonderful. I'm like so looking forward to the club. And maybe we should let our listeners know when we are starting this book club, and how many calls are there in all, like what kind of commitment are they looking in for? I mean, I wouldn't want to call it a commitment. I really think that this is like life-changing.
Mhm.
The minute you told me to read the Gentleman's Club book club in the class, and I started reading it, so much shifted for me in terms of that whole giving yourself up. And I, I tend to do it even before the relationship begins. So that was so huge for me. Like, you know, this whole utopian ideal of romance. And that was enough for me to sort of start giving myself up, right? So
Yeah.
even before being in a relationship, which is so interesting. Yeah. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing this with you. And I'm so
Yeah.
looking forward to, like, you know, your facilitation at the end of the calls. So maybe we can let them know when we are starting.
Yeah. Who's got the dates listed? Anybody?
Dr. Sanjeev.
August 19th is when we start, approx
Okay.
8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. There are 12 chapters
India
in this
time.
book, Indian time.
India time.
There
Yeah,
are 12
IST.
chapters in
Okay.
this book. So there will be 12 telecalls, Zoom calls that Dr. Anthony will be doing. It will be like a 1 to 1.5 hours call, and he will be reading out the book. And at the end of it, there will be space for asking questions and discussion and everything. So it's priced at 150 US dollars, and overall for all the 12 calls put
That's
together,
it.
and everybody's welcome.
Oh my
That's
God.
it.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. I think it's a damn good deal.
So you mean no
It's a great
excuse
deal.
no excuse about not having the money now?
To
Yeah,
convert in
absolutely.
terms of conversion of Indian currency, that would be like something like 875 rupees per call. That's it, which
Yeah.
is a great deal for
Peanuts.
something
Yeah.
that's going to make you a valuable product in your life.
Yeah. That's a key word too, right there, is a valuable product. What would it be like if you were the valuable product in your own life and every area of your life?
Wow.
Wow.
And
Can't wait for it.
I'd love to thank you for like all of you for inviting this space for men and women, because probably this is one of the few times where where there's actually going to be no separation, and we're allowing. I know as a woman I have no clarity about what a man wants. I know that for sure. But but maybe this is a step for men to allow women into their space, for knowing what they desire, what they require, what we can be around them, and just to end the separation and create a world beyond what just we want and what is required out of us to create a greater reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond
And a
self-interest.
relationship that really contributes, right, Isha? Like,
Yeah.
really, just a relationship that really contributes to both.
Yeah. Well, Gary
Yeah.
talks about like not a relationship, but actually a creationship. If you're going to be with
Yeah.
someone, it should be about creating greater possibilities together.
Yeah. Which is such a different take.
Totally different take.
Yeah.
Totally different take. So, I mean, it's awesome. It's amazing. Sometimes it'll be uncomfortable, but if you're really willing to be present with the call, and at the end of the day, it's about you not separating from you anymore.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So it's actually one, by the end of it, it's like having the relationship, the creationship with you yourself. It's
Yeah.
like
Correct.
literally not separating
Yeah.
from yourself, because how many lifetimes have we been men, have men been women, and that has us actually separating from ourselves. So what if
Exactly.
we actually, yeah, so it's actually what this is what creationship actually, from access, which is such a beautiful point of view, that when you actually have that with you is when you can actually have that with those around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I get that it's going to be a lot fun, and it's going to be quite funny because Dr. Anthony can go on about all of his sexual exploits and his adventures, and it's hilarious. And I laugh, and I can be perverted in front of him, and I can say all my perverted thoughts out there, just putting it out there. So it's a space of a lot of fun where you can explore your sexualness, you can explore, things that you cannot talk with other people. This is a space where it's a safe space to come and talk about, care about it, and and like from a space of with people who are not going to judge you, but you being vulnerable, you sharing this stuff on the book club might really contribute to everybody on the book club.
Yeah.
How
Well, people could
beautiful,
judge me. I
Sanjeev.
don't give a shit
Yeah.
if they judge me or not. There won't be any skeletons in my closet, baby. I'll divulge anything and everything, but I do it because I want people to know that you can change it.
And coming from a woman's point of view, I would like to add to what Sanjeev just said. The space that you be is just so much of ease for women, ladies, girls, children to also speak up with the vulnerability of what is in that moment. And there's a space of no
Thanks.
fear of being judged or being made wrong. And that's such an invitation, Anthony. And that's such a beautiful invitation, I think, for everybody who's everywhere, especially in India, where we so fear being judged for, speaking about something that's not right and not supposed to be spoken about in public. And we so fear it, so fear the judgments. And in your classes, sitting with you and being able to just speak with you doesn't really take too much time. It's not really hard work. It just comes so naturally with you just facilitating us through it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think you just so much space for us to be able to even voice what we truly desire without feeling wrong about it. And that I think is brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, how much fun can we all have?
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder how much fun this whole thing is going to be. I'm like so looking forward to it. Yay.
Awesome. All right.
Just a week away. Just a week away. Yes.
So we'll put
Thank you, Dr.
out
Anthony.
the link, the registration link. So everyone who's interested in changing their lives can quickly register.
Yep.
Sanjeev?
3 calls per week. 3 calls per week for 4 weeks. 1 month of change.
Yep.
Yay.
Too much.
And so much fun along the way.
That's right. Lots of fun. But that wouldn't be good for you to have.
No, not at all. No. Who wants that?
Fun is bad.
Bad.
All right. Bye, everybody. Love you.
Bye. Thank you, Dr.
Bye.
Anthony.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Shana, Aisha, Sanjeev.